On today's episode of Make It Happen, I've brought in a dear friend and client of mine who is a rock star at her business. Everything from managing business success and specifically in her industry. Today's tips are all about helping you rock your business, small or large. Welcome to Make It Happen. Today's Pick My Brain comes from Christy Diaz, and she asked the question, I feel like I found my target market, but it doesn't feel right yet. What do I do? I love the conversation for small business owners, especially those in direct sales and experts, speakers, authors, coaches, finding a specific target market. As much as your product or service might be able to reach and help everyone, when you're trying to market to everyone, you reach no one. And I know I'm a broken record on this subject, but let me tell you a little bit about some things that we've talked about with some of my high-end clients in my outsourced CMO program this week about target markets that I think will help you have the courage to take the leap. The first is, as you select your target market and eliminate a whole group of people, you will actually feel more energized and a burden will be lifted. For example, one of my clients, Alan, works with small business owners, and he has actually fine-tuned and honed in his target market over the last 3 or 4 years, where he is really focused on small business owners or medium-sized business owners where they are leaving their business to family. So it's like family-owned businesses for generations. And that's actually a pretty tight target market. As he has worked in a variety of different industries, technology, family, foster care, and others, he actually found that he really loves working in the foster care community, but he niched even further and is saying that he's working with Polynesian-owned foster care agencies. That is such a tight niche that on one hand might scare someone, but for him, once he finally figured it out, he just breathed a sigh of relief and he knows exactly what to do to serve that community. His marketing efforts are more honed in. He is excited about it because he knows he only has to talk to this one group. His messages are direct because that unique culture has messages that match them. They're really big on family, really big on community, really big on food, and you can create conversations that match with that market, and he just feels so much better. But the second thing that I'll share, because I know we don't have time to talk about target market for a full 30 minutes in this Pick My Brain, maybe we'll have a future one about target markets, but one of the things that I want you to think about is that your target market may take some time and it's okay, but I want you to start down a path. As I started in the marketing space, I was helping all businesses and I was helping individuals and small business owners and trying to get into some medium-sized businesses. Over time, I figured out I really love small business owners. I love entrepreneurs who are in charge of marketing as well as in charge of running the chief parts of their business. And that doesn't mean that I can't help other people, but that's kind of my favorite. The ones who are really in their business, they're passionate about what they do and helping figure that out. So I also do a lot of work with coaches, speakers, authors, experts because of my work as a speaker and because of the associations that I run in. And I love helping those people become thought leaders in their industry. And I also love people that are in direct sales. There is some great energy in those organizations where people are building and growing a business on their own. But I didn't get there overnight. I got there by starting. And so if you find that your target market isn't really fitting with you, and Christy is just expressing this, but many of you may have that same challenge. If you feel like your target market isn't quite fitting, start with something and move forward. Don't let your target market hold you back from trying things, from putting things out there. And over time, you'll fine tune that target market in a way that's solid. I'm not saying cast a wide net. I'm still saying try to target. But as you move down the road, you might find that target market will shift and you'll find where you love to spend the most time. So I'm cheering you on as you figure it out, but give yourself permission to try it on, to try some messages, and to hone that target market over time. I revisit my target market every year. And so I might tighten up the age range. I might tighten up some other demographics or look at the geographics or psychographics and make them just a little bit closer. But every year, review that, but then move forward with a specific plan and give that dedicated effort for those 12 months. I'm cheering you on as you grow and build your business. And if you have other questions like this, you can send them in to me at michelle@speakmichelle.com. Put Pick My Brain in the subject line, or you can find me on Instagram @speakmichelle and direct message your questions there as well. Can't wait to answer your questions on motivation or marketing on a future episode of the show. I'm also excited to partner with some amazing brands that are helping to make this show possible. But today's show is being brought to you by the Marketing Blueprint Workshop. Every year, I put together an event in the fall that helps business owners create their marketing plan. We spend some time talking about marketing trends and the things that have shifted in the market, but then we also dive deep into creating your plan for the new year. Everything from deciding your messages, the mediums that you're going to use, the budget that's important, and all about social media and media to put together a cohesive approach to your marketing. You're welcome to join us at any time of year. So if you're listening to this in May, we have recordings available for you. But if you'd like to join us live, go to marketingblueprintworkshop.com. You'll see tickets available and all of the details that you need. We hope that you can join us. It's one of my favorite things that I do each year. So we have Trisha here to tell us today about some business strategies. We're also going to talk a little bit about rocking direct sales. She's at the top of her company, has some amazing tips to share. However, I need you to stay tuned. So whether you have a direct sales business or whether you are running your own thing from home, the strategies that we talk about today, Trisha really is a great resource about busting some of the myths that come from running a business and being successful. Now, I want to start generic first and then we can go specific. But what would you say are a couple of your few top number one success tips? Like when people say, Trisha, how do you do it? What are your top one or two things that you really rock at and you know that that helps you grow and build your business?
Yeah, great question. And there's several. So two.
Well, start with two and then we'll go somewhere.
We'll start with my two favorite. Honestly, one of the biggest things was having a commitment, committing to something. Because when I started, I didn't have any experience. I lacked knowledge in every aspect and really wanted to give it a commitment though. I was like, I'm going to give this my all. I'm going to give it a shot. So being committed and recognizing like maybe putting a deadline on it, like I will give it this much time, but put all the energy and effort into it. So that's number one. Number two would probably be my routines, like how I spend my time. So what I do with my time, because at the time when I started this, I had another business I was running and I had 4 kids at the time. So my life was crazy. And I didn't know how I'd pack in one more thing, but it's all about how you use your time and how you use it wisely. So the routine of when do I work and what do I do when I work? Those are probably my 2 best hacks.
I love both of those because I think in my experience, I walk around and see a lot of different entrepreneurs, a lot of people in direct sales, and I really see people who have a desire but lack a commitment, right? And they commitment to both of those things, right? Commitment to the business and commitment to routines and schedules and kind of wanting to find the easy path. And I think that we put blinders on because we hear stories of people, oh, well, they were a TikTok sensation or, oh, they did XYZ or, oh, this person had one video that went viral and so that people are looking for one thing,
yes,
rather than a series of things and being committed to the work that it takes, which is why I'm such a big fan of like the daily, weekly, monthlies, like your routines and the things that you do every day, regardless of the success that you have. Maybe you will have a video go viral. Maybe you will have an ad campaign that goes absolutely crazy, but it's the things that you do regularly that I think determine your success.
100%. I mean, the only reason I have the leaders that I do that help me be as successful as I am is because of the things I did daily, weekly, monthly. And it wasn't always fun. It was like, I'll just make this one more call or I'll just do this one more event or something. And it turned out to be amazing. So you just can't ever give up. You can't ever give up. So, but I recognize too that in the beginning, people were saying like, oh, my friend, this is one, like a direct quote. She's like, my friend Celeste, she made like 20 grand last month doing this thing. She's only been doing it a few weeks. And that's the perception you have in your mind of like, I want that to be me. And so you start going and you're like, this is not me. I am not having this crazy $20,000 check. What's going on? What am I doing wrong? But again, it's the commitment that just kept me going. Like, I'm glad I can get there. I know I can get there. Maybe not tomorrow, like Celeste. We'll say Celeste, because is that real? Did that really happen? But just committing to, no, I'll keep going until something magic happens.
Okay, well, I like that. And I think that's a great foundation. What else do you have? What are some of your other favorite success?
Okay, yeah, commitment, never giving up, the morning routine, and being coachable. That's probably I should have said that's number 1. So that's a good solid number 3 is being coachable because, again, I had no experience in sales, no experience in network marketing, no belief in myself. Let's put that out there. No belief in the products. I didn't even know if the products worked. I just was like, let's do this. Let's try. I needed something different in my life. And so just honestly, I think just being coachable because there were so many things I didn't know that I had to just be taught and be willing to fail forward. So being coachable and be willing to fail and not let it kick you in the pants and say, I'm out, I quit. So,
well, it's interesting that you say that because I was sitting on a panel with a bunch of other business owners and they were talking about some of their top traits, like what they look for in employees. And the number one was being a problem solver, like not somebody who just complains, but somebody who is willing to look at a challenge and say, hey, here are some options for that, or here's how we could approach it. Even if they're detached from it has to be one way, but just the open-mindedness to trying different things. But the second one they said was being coachable, like being open and humble and being willing to recognize that, especially if you're going into another organization, that there's a culture you need to learn, a process you need to learn, functionality you need to learn, how teams work, bosses you need to get, and just to come in with an open-minded willingness to that somebody else has what you need. And he said the challenge is that we train people to interview to be at the top of their game. Here's the best. Here's why you're awesome. And then we recruit and say, oh, we need you. We want you. And so they show up in this space of, well, I'm the best thing that ever happened to this company just because of that process, rather than coming in and saying, that got me in the door, but now what's going to get me to the next level, and being open to have some of those conversations. So whether you're in direct sales or not, I think that is a fantastic idea. And a reminder that, that even as you grow in success, like you've had success for years and years, and it would be easy to stop and say, okay, I can just do it now. But there are still ways that you're open and coachable and ready to take it to the next level.
Definitely, because I'm still learning. I mean, that's the beauty of this business that I love the most, is I do feel like I'm getting a master's degree, so to speak, like every year it's a different education in some way or another. Like that's why I'm working with you, right? Like the whole marketing thing is something that's blown my mind. I didn't understand, so I'm always willing to learn and want to learn, because it just helps you get to that next level, or help the team get to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. And what you can learn is also gives you the ability to be able to teach and help others do. So we're only as good as the information that we have.
Yep.
What else? What else do you have for us? Other business strategies for success?
Okay, here's another good one, is surrounding yourself with people that believe in you or that have already achieved that success. So I remember going to a Jack Canfield event that was put on in Salt Lake probably 7 years ago, it was a while ago, many years ago. I've been in the business 8 years. So it was probably a year or two after I had joined. And I was at this crossroads where I'm like, I'm just feeling stuck. I just feel like, I just didn't feel like I was really getting anywhere. And so I saw this advertised. I thought, I'm going to go. Maybe he has some answers. I didn't know. So I showed up and was immediately surrounded by people that believed in themselves, were getting the help and support they needed. And it just opened my eyes to, God, it's really important to surround yourself with positive people that are all like after bigger things, better things, and not limiting yourself to people that are like, I don't know if that's going to work out for you. I don't know if you can do that. That seems hard, or just even negative folks that are just not lifting you up. So surrounding yourself with other successful people. And when I hit other crossroads where I'm like, God, I am not making what I thought I'd be making by this period of time, I would network with other direct sellers that were making multiple 6 figures, 7 figures in some cases, and just asking like, how did you do it? What did you do? And that was probably one of the biggest turning points, because I realized they're no different than me. They've just either been doing it longer, or maybe they have a little bit different strategy that I could implement because I was willing to learn. Again, back to that coachable, I was willing to learn and think, oh, that's a great idea, and implement some of those things that helped me get to that next level. But it's because I was surrounding myself with people that like, man, I can do this. Because again, I don't have that in my company. Like it's me. There's no one. I was sponsored by our home office. So there wasn't someone I could look to and say, they've made it, I can do it. It was like, it's up to me, people are following me. And so I have to prove that this can be done. And so it just helped to be around other network marketers that had already made it, in my eyes, and learn from them.
I think that's really great. What would you say to the person who feels like their biggest challenge is because they don't have the support, or they don't have cheerleaders, or the people around them, their family, friends, spouse, whatever, are just like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Like, how do you help some of those people who feel like, if I could only have the support that I really want, I could thrive?
They can find it somewhere. They will find it somewhere, whether it's in their team organization or whether they find friends online or networking groups. There are places they can find that support, just like I did. I was able to go to this event and find some cheerleaders there. I joined a mastermind. I found amazing cheerleaders there that led to a retreat that made me get even bigger support group there, and it just evolves. And so you can find it. If you want it, you can certainly find it.
And just be willing, because I think and you didn't sit at home and say, oh, I need to find a support team. Like, you made decisions to go and find like-minded people, connect and network, get out of your regular bubble of humans.
Yeah, and it goes back to that commitment, right? Because I'm like, I'm giving this a year. and I'm not quite at that year mark, and I'm not hitting the goals I wanted to. I'm not as far along as I thought I would be. And so I said I would do this for a year. I would give it my all. And so I had to find other things to do. This isn't working. So what else can I do that will possibly work? So
I like it. Any other thoughts that you have running in your mind that you want to share with our audience about rocking success in business?
I think that's the main thing. I think what I shared are like the top takeaways. Evaluate your routine, get a firm commitment, understand why you're doing it to begin with. What is the reason you're even there to begin with? And surrounding yourself with people that support you. Yeah.
Okay, before we jump into the direct sales piece, I want you to talk a little bit about some of the things that you do to preserve yourself. So I had an opportunity to watch you in a room full of people who all roll up to you in one way, shape, or form. You looked totally calm and cool, like you had it all figured out. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure to walk in a room and know that everyone in that room knows who you are and knows that you could have something to help them with, and they all have questions and they all want things from you. So how do you preserve yourself in a space where as your team grows, that you've got this constant pull of, what can I get from Trisha?
God, that's a great question, and I'm still learning, because I feel like there's times I feel like I'm doing really great, and other times I'm like, I'm failing my team. I'm not enough for them. I'm not helping them enough. I'm not cheering them on enough. And I just have to kind of coach myself through that and realize I reached out and got outside support when I felt I needed it. They can do the same. If they want something bad enough and I'm not giving what they need, they can go find it elsewhere. So I have to coach myself through it. And it really does come down to, again, that morning routine. Like, what am I nourishing my mind with? How can I get myself through those? Because it is tough. I may have had a brave face, but it is actually trickier, because you don't want anyone to leave the room and feel like she doesn't even care about me. Like, I want everyone to know I care about them and I love them. I really honestly do. And so that's my biggest fear, leaving big events or leaving trainings or anything. That did everyone feel like I gave them what they needed, or gave them a bit of my time or energy? And if not, then I feel terrible, right? So I just have to coach myself through it and say, I'm doing the best I can given the circumstances I have. And that comes from the morning routine, reading. And that's how I preserve myself, is I take care of me first and make sure that my morning always starts with me. And that was a big thing that came from you. I start my day on purpose. I end my day on purpose. And that really gets me through those tougher moments, because they are tough. I may look brave, but they're hard. Yeah, they're hard. Well, I don't know if that answered your question. But
no, it does. I also see you as someone who makes decisions from your values and keeps life in priority. Like, I love your warm cookie Wednesday. Mm-hmm. That makes me really happy. And if my life circumstances were a little bit different, I would be that person. I would totally copy it and do the exact same thing. My kids go across town, all their friends are, and they can't just walk over to the house. So it's just different. Yeah. But I also see you making decisions about how you show up for your kids, mm-hmm. and how you connect with others, and even friend groups in a way that works. So speak to that for a minute. And how do you kind of juggle all of those balls with the roles that you play?
Yeah, great question too. I grew up with friends that had parents that worked. My mom did not work. She was at home. And I remember the regret they always had, and the sadness and remorse they felt, that their mom was never there for them. That when they were going to the dentist, their mom was on the phone. When they were going, wherever they were going, their mom was on the phone, working. So that stuck with me. And I'm like, I cannot be that person. I want my kids to know that I am there for them, and I don't need to be on calls to be as successful as I am. So I make sure that when they're home, I am off the phone for the most part. I mean, there's times that's not always the case. But if they do say, Mom, I'm right there. I'm ready to help them. So that's just because it's a core value. The core value is, I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was my number one thing growing up. Anything that you go back in time and read in my journals, or anything from school, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always, I want to be home with my kids. But I also love to contribute. I love having value outside of being stay-at-home mom. So in answer to that, I mean, that's a long version, but it really, to me, I put them as a priority, but I also put myself as a priority, which core values to me are financially stable and stay-at-home mom. And those two can merge together. You can have them in the same space. So when we go to dentist appointments, I'm not on the phone. I'm talking to them when we go. So I make sure those things are really clear, but there are times where they're home and I am on a conference call or I'm on a Zoom meeting, and that's okay, because I've given them some time, either during the day after school or at night. We have talks, or we go get a soda, whatever it is. So there's time that I spend with them, but they also see Mom works too, and that's okay. That's okay. But it is very important to me that again, it's the time management, prioritize my time and make sure I put them first. but sometimes they might come second. So I don't want to be unrealistic that like, I always drop everything and they are, sometimes it can't be that way, but they know that. I think that in 10 years from now, they would say my mom was there for me. I would hope that's what they'd say. I would think that's what they say. And that's all I could ask for.
I've had conversations with my kids that will say something along the lines of like, my family is number one and there's no question. Just like dad's family is number one and there's no question. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other times where a priority is important. And so if that means that I need to take care of something for a client, I'll do everything I can to get it done while you're at school or when it works within these frame. But if there's something that comes up, you need to know that that is a priority or I wouldn't choose it because you are. Sure. And that doesn't mean that they always get that. But I also feel like my kids have gotten to the point where the more I communicate with them about the things that are going on, they can process and they're learning about priorities and placement and like you try to figure out how do I have one-on-one time or connection in some way so that even if they're running and doing 100 different things that they were like, oh yeah, my mom was there.
She showed up. Yeah, for sure. But going back to the value, like I have so much satisfaction in earning my own dollar. So I teach them that too, that what I do matters and it's important. It allows us to have this lifestyle that you all love, you love it just as much as I love it. And I think they would still say if it came down to it, if we never saw you, we'd rather have our mom, but I don't think that's the case. They see me. I'm there after school. We do the warm cookie Wednesday every Wednesday, but from like 2:30 to 4:30, I have no appointments. My calendar is always blocked. That is my kid time. I run them to lessons wherever they need to be. But I was chatting with my sister just last Sunday, actually, and she told me that she bought a car for the first time. She's 44 years old. Bought her first car ever with her own funds, her own dollars that she earned herself, and how much satisfaction she had. I'm like, I get it. I get that. There is just something about earning your own dollar, and I love teaching that to our kids too, that you have value. You have great things you can add to this world and this community, and so find what it is and go for it, So anyway.
I think there's lots of different ways to teach kids lessons. And there are some things that I think my kids have learned because I have worked. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody should. Yeah. And I honor everyone's path and decision, like whatever they do. But there have been a couple of times where I thought, oh, wow, that's a lesson that they got. Because I was busy doing something for a minute. Yeah, the independence.
And, we could that could be a whole nother segment, right? The things they can learn from
for sure
working mom. But I'm with you. I just did a blog post on that very thing. Please honor where I'm at. I honor where you're at. If you love doting on your kids and want to do that, well, that is so great. I am so happy for you, and just honor where I'm at too, because we're all in different phases, right?
And I do feel like we all get inspired about different parts of our lives that matter and work. And I have dear friends who are inspired by staying home and they feel like that's the right thing for their family. And I feel this pull and call that is more than me on a regular basis that I feel a responsibility to uphold as well. So, 100%. And as we're teaching kids and even teaching ourselves into different things, I also think that this kind of plays into your conversation. I love what you're doing with Mythbusters because I think that there's a lot of stigma around direct sales and a lot of generalizations about what that has to look like if you want to build it or grow it. And I also think that that's a myth that we can bust too, that moms have to choose and that there can be places where there's and kids will be fine and thrive and maybe even rock it out a little bit here and there. But what are some other myths that you have seen in the industry and how have you done it different that has helped you in your business?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite Mythbusters that I talk about is you don't have to be that person. Like, do you have to be, because we know who that person is, right? You can picture that person. For sure. Someone that's called you nonstop saying, you promised you'd come to it. You don't have to be that person. And I learned that early on. I didn't want to be that person. I was ready to break that myth. And so you don't have to be. I've learned a lot about the sales process and the sales journey. And I'm the first one that recognizes our products aren't for everyone, and that is okay. We don't need everyone to buy them. Look at where I'm at, and I do not have 98% of my friends and family. In fact, most of my family is not even buying products from me. And I have some best friends that don't use our products. And you would think, I used to have that attitude of like, I can't believe they don't buy from me. It was in the beginning. It was a little bit like, what? And now my eyes have been opened that you don't have to have everybody buy from you. It has to be the right fit for them. Do I have a solution to a problem they're having? If so, great, let's talk. If not, no problem. Let's move on. So you don't have to be that person. That's probably one of my favorite.
I do like that too, because I can think of lots of that person.
Even as I said it, I'm like, Yes, they're like, it's banking in my mind.
Yeah.
The people that brought products to my doorstep at 10 p.m. at night and knocking on the door like, hey, you're home now, try these. Like, I already told you I didn't want to.
Need a small order before midnight.
Yes,
Could you take care of that for me?
Yes. All of those things. Yep, you get it. We all get it. That's why I'm like, you know that person, right?
Right.
Many people.
And I think that as I've dissected some of that comes from a spirit of desperation. And when you can separate desperation from purpose, then you show up a lot more intentionally. And it's not about every single person doing something from you. It's about finding the right people to work with you. Okay, what else? Give me another myth.
Another Mythbuster. Another one that I did that was funny, and when I shot the video, it was me like wearing all the stuff, like wearing the hat, wearing the shirt, wearing the thing. You don't have to wear all the things all of the time to be successful. In fact, I rarely wear the things all the time. My car isn't shrink wrapped. I don't have the special plate. You can.
For sure.
And there's people that do, and it's awesome, and it's so great, but you don't have to. If that's not my style. I don't like the spotlight on me. I really like to kind of sit in the background, and so I never have been that person, and I've been able to make it just fine. And then we do have people that have, and it's been awesome, and they've done great. And people on my team, one that just said, I got an order from my window sticker that had, somebody called, and I'm like, that is great. That is awesome. So you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the more we talk about the myths, that I think that it helps the industry, but it also helps people be more willing to get into the industry, either to try it as a product or try it as a business.
For sure.
So just kind of break, like, do I have to be the person that does X, Y, Z? Really, you really don't.
You really don't.
So many different ways
really
to
don't.
grow and build a business.
Yeah. It comes back to what we kind of started with. What's your commitment? Why are you doing it to begin with? There's so many things that all tie together. And I already kind of hinted on, I guess, number 3, I'm going to just jump right in and say, what's number 3? It would be that your friends and family, I already hinted at it, but your friends and family don't have to buy from you to be successful. Like, people will say you have to, reach out to all your friends and family.
Make a list of your top 25 contacts.
And you can, and we often say do, because there might be a need. But if you go through those 25 people and they either don't have, like in our case, a pet, if they don't have a pet, or if their pet sleeps outside and never makes it inside, that's not our ideal client. It's probably not going to be a good fit. So where do you go next? Where do you go from there? Who do you talk to after that? What kind of networking groups can you join? What kind of events can you do? What kind of posts can you put out there that sees if there is a need out there? So you don't have to have all your friends and family support you to be successful. That's another myth.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love all of your Mythbusters.
Yeah, they're fun. I gotta do some more. There's lots. I have a whole list. So.
Give us one more. We've got one more before we got to wrap up.
Okay, so I said my favorite 3. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to call the people at midnight on the last day of the month to say, "Hey, I just $20 away from my goal. Can you help me make this goal?" You do not have to do that. You can. But you'll burn bridges that way. So we recommend you don't. But you don't have to do that either. There are really great support systems and strategies that allow you to not have to do that either. I will say I have done that maybe once or twice in the beginning when I am learning and I'm learning things the wrong way, and then I'm coachable and teachable, and someone tells me like, that's not really a great idea. Oh, okay, I'll stop doing that. So I definitely have had that be on my own, but I've learned from it. And now I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. I've done that maybe once or twice and I'm not proud of it. And now I'm like, no, we do things different now.
Yeah, I like it. I love this conversation. We'll make sure to link in the show notes to your Mythbusters so people can find more of them.
Sounds good.
They're available on YouTube. And we, of course, have all the details about Trisha in our show notes as well, if you're interested in learning more. Do you want to talk a little bit about, like, you haven't even mentioned the company that you work for. Do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah. So it's a pet nutrition company. It's called Pottery. So we help pets, and we help cats and dogs. I should always specify. People will say horses, goats. No, cats and dogs for now. And we've been around about 8 years, companies out of Texas. But we really try to take a proactive approach to pet care. So there's one of 2 categories. Either someone comes to me and they say, my pet has an issue. Can you help me solve it? Yes, I can. Or my pet is like my best friend. I don't ever want it to die. What can you do? And we help them prolong that life as long as possible through just healthy, all natural solutions, food, treats, supplements, and so forth. So kind of work with those 2 categories. And again, that's not everybody, and that is okay.
Yeah.
Another myth, right?
Yeah, I don't have any dogs. I can't even support you.
Yeah,
so
and that's okay. And look, it's fine. It's great.
But thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being the cool human that you are in the world.
Nice. So are you.
And showing up. And If you are interested, please follow Trisha. She's also got things happening on social media. Those links are below as well. And thanks for being part of Make It Happen.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. You're so awesome.
Okay, today's favorite things, I am going into the video vault, as they say, in fancy Disneyland, but this is not even Disney movies. I just thought I would tell you some of my favorite 80s movies, which if you didn't know is my favorite genre of movie. If I'm ever feeling sad or down, there is an 80s movie that will solve your problems. Like if you are feeling like you're done being an adult or a kid and you want to take your brain to a different place, well, then that's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of an adventure or you need to be grateful for your own circumstances, you might be surprised, but that's Goonies. Okay, it makes you grateful for your own circumstances and gives you a little adventure with some favorite one-liners. My favorite scene in that whole movie is when Chunk is talking about vomiting in the movie theater. That makes me so happy. When I'm feeling like I want to talk about fun and family and people's lives getting ruined, which is my husband's least favorite kind of movie, I watch Baby Boom. But my favorite 3 movies, and I actually had to really think about this as I looked at my wall to make these decisions, but these are my favorite 3 80s movies in no particular order because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that part. Okay. Number 1, no particular order, Big Business. Fun fact about Michelle, I am a huge Bette Midler fan. I am probably cult follower at this point because she has some funky classics that I really like, but this is absolutely her best. Lily Tomlin is at her best, and I just find this movie to be so incredibly funny. If you have not seen Big Business in a while, I'm going to encourage you to pull that out. I'm sure you can get it anywhere on the World Wide Web, but get the Blu-ray and it will make you feel like the 80s all over. I mean, I guess that's what VHSs are for, but the Blu-ray is for today's technology, see? Uncle Buck, longtime friend. This is the movie that you want to watch when you need to laugh and separate yourself from reality, okay? Because nothing in this movie would actually ever happen. However, it is just real fun to watch. I love the section on what's your record for consecutively asked questions? That is funny part. I'm earning my keep. Funny, very good funny. I'm not being very funny right now. The last movie is Overboard. And I just now have a question if it was like the 90s, but this movie, I don't know why I love this one so much. I can't even tell you when I'm in the mood for this one and what you should watch it for, but this is just a great, like if you had to totally change your circumstances, what would you value most? Also hysterical and funny. If you've seen the new Overboard, and that's the only Overboard you've seen, you have to watch the old one because the new one is only funny because of the old one. There, I said it. Okay, so these are a few of my favorites. We will, of course, link them in the show notes below, and I would love to hear what are some of your favorite 80s movies. I do have to add one bonus. I know this is like the longest favorite things ever, but one bonus movie, whenever I'm feeling 80s nostalgia, I actually watch The Wedding Singer. And The Wedding Singer is not an 80s movie. It's a 90s, maybe even early 2000s movie, but it's all about the 80s. And you've got Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler who are caught in a romantic web, but then also tons of funny 80s culture and music and movie references that will just make your heart soar like it does mine. So thanks for being part of my favorite things, and thanks for being part of Make It Happen. I have already been thinking about ways that I can take some of Trisha's tips and integrate them into my business. While they may be standard success principles, sometimes we forget even the most simplest things. What can you implement in your business today that will increase your results? Whether that's commitment, problem solving, being coachable, or busting myths in your own industry so that people can really, truly understand what you do. I am so honored that you would give me this time in your day, and I would love for you to leave an honest rating or review so that other people can find shows like this as they are considering different podcast and show platforms. Thank you for being part of Make It Happen, and we'll see you next week.